The beat goes on. Today on Fortitude through Stoicism, and this is my 365-day journey of implementing the ancient philosophy of Stoicism into the life of this modern masculine man. Super early flight out of Tampa today, so we're just getting to the lesson now. The beat goes on by Marcus Aurelius, and the quote, "Walk the long gallery of the past, of empires and kingdoms succeeding one another without number. As you can also see the future, for surely it will be exactly the same, unable to deviate from the present rhythm." So what Mark, and again, Roman emperor, and what he's saying here, and again, we're talking about mortality, not just of the human body, but of things, of companies, of kingdoms, of religions, of ideas. Marcus Aurelius was one of the 5 good emperors of the Roman Empire, which lasted 450 years. The longest life, 122 years. The United States, what do we got here? Should know it's because of the Marine Corps birthday. 250, somewhere, odd years, thereabouts. In my lifetime, I remember as a boy, right? If you've seen Rocky 4, right? You have Rocky versus this big Soviet. And as a kid, it was always the USA versus the USSR, us versus them. The interesting thing is they no longer exist as a country. This is true. The second most powerful nation on the planet that was around up until, I don't know, I was probably 13 or so, until it just didn't exist anymore. Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, the British Empire. Now that still remains a country, but its influence really has gone away. So what's to say about the United States, especially with all the financial chaos that's going on, especially with the political turmoil? I mean, it smells a lot like Rome, doesn't it? Now, Rome essentially crumbled from within. Corruption, financial turmoil. The Soviet Union crumbled from within. Corruption, financial chaos. What's to say that the same thing couldn't happen to the United States? You're saying, oh, well, it's too big. Well, so was the Soviet Union. So was the British Empire. So was the Roman Empire. So if you're a young person, you start out and you're saying, wow, I'm going to work 40 years for the government and I'm going to have a pension that's going to pay for my retirement. So sure about that? If I was a betting man, and I'm not, but I would bet on myself. Now, the topic today is the beat goes on. And this is talking about the impermanence of things, again, tied to Buddhism, right? Things change. Right now, the United States is a super global power. In 30 years, it may not be. You may be at the peak of your financial life so far. A few years, it may not be. 5 years ago, I was homeless. Now it's the complete opposite, right? The beat goes on. We're born, we die. Everything has a life cycle. Everything has a natural order to things. One of the things I left out of the quote is Marcus Aurelius is talking about whether you've experienced it for 40 years or for an eon, what more is there left to see? What he's saying is the same cycles always repeat themselves over and over and over again. And once you've seen the first cycle, you certainly haven't seen the last, right? So how do we apply this to the life of a modern masculine man? Companies. That's my world, right? So companies are bought and sold. The first company I started my career out, it was amazing. We were growing across the country. And then all of a sudden we got caught up in margin calls. All of a sudden, just one day, the company didn't exist. And that's where I was made my livelihood, as my business was built off. And all of a sudden, the company I worked for just poof, gone. So I've seen this before. I've been down this road. I've been in companies, especially during the mortgage business, especially during that 2007, 2008 time frame. You go to work one day, you got a job. By the end of the day, the company doesn't even exist anymore. But the beat goes on, doesn't it? You still have to pay your bills. You still have a life to live. You still have breaths to take. You still have responsibility. You still have all of those things. So I reflect back. And so a guy who looks at this and says, I've seen this before. I've seen companies no longer exist. So I no longer put all my eggs in one basket. I always have other things. I've seen countries no longer exist. That's why I'm diversifying. That's why I'm working on a secondary citizenship right now. That's why I'm working on getting married to someone who lives abroad right now. Options. Hey, listen, I call it trust but verify. I don't necessarily trust the fact that the United States is going to cease to exist in the near future, but I'm going to verify that I got my shit together just in case that it does, right? And so that's where this mortality stuff comes in. And I was thinking about my death the other day. I'm not having a funeral or a celebration of life or any of that other crap. I'm not doing that. I live my life. I don't want anybody to mourn. So I don't want anybody to celebrate my death. So there's really no reason to have a public get-together. I mean, the beat goes on. I'm one of 8 billion people alive right now. God knows how many humans have existed over time. Not special. Didn't have a fanfare at my birth. Certainly don't need one at my death. The beat goes on. And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just my way of looking at it. But hey. So this is saying that the average life expectancy in the United States is just about 78 years, right? So for me, you could say maybe I got some more of the years ahead of me, or maybe I don't. Either way, I'm going to accept what it is, and I do know that no matter what, if I die, the company will go on. If I die, the people I love will go on. The beat goes on. We are not special. Nothing is special. Everything is impermanent. I know that's really sad. I know that's shitty to talk about, but it's the truth. So there's no sense in dwelling on it, but there's no sense in also ignoring it either. Recognize it, accept it, and move on. So before I close today, I'm getting towards the end of this thing, and this has actually become a habit of mine. I've actually enjoyed this. And I've seen tremendous amount of progress in my own life. So for those of you that don't know, I'm following Ryan Holiday's The Daily Stoic. 365 days broken out into 12 months of different categories, all different lessons from different people who have practiced philosophy and then different perspectives. And what I've done is I've taken those and I've reflected and I've applied it to my own life. And I've also looked at my life and how it could be changed had I not, undertaken this journey. I have also read many other books. I've taken other courses, other lecturers, multiple lecturers on Stoicism, multiple different philosophers, teachers, educators. There is more good here than there's not, right? So some of the things, the one thing that I'm struggling with is the nature, right? So what the Stoics talk about nature is the universal order of things. Basically, they didn't know how to explain it, but like they're saying that everything happened because of God, right? Or this universal power. That's the one thing that I'm not sold on yet of Stoicism, is I'm not exactly sold on this concept of this universal fate. Because I've proven to myself time and time and time again that I can change my fate. So, in today's lesson, the beat goes on. The lessons go on. The learning goes on. And what I think I know goes on. And on that, I got to get back to work.